Hello and welcome to this video. My name is Aniruddha, call sign is View3FML. Today I would like to discuss with you my experience with QRP operation. By QRP I mean 10 watts and below of power output. Ever since I got licensed as an amateur radio operator, that was in October of 2020, I bought and assembled a HF QRP rig called as the Micro BTEX by HF Signals. It's a fun little radio, very nice in design, very nice to operate on, very economical for a newcomer. This particular radio puts out 5 watts on 20 meter band and 10 watts on 40 meter band, the way it is set for me. I started with the 20 meter band and I put up an inverted V antenna and started operating on the 20 meter band. I had to learn how to properly tune the antenna. I had to precisely tune the antenna because the output was just 5 watts on the 20 meter band and I didn't want any power losses occurring because we were starting with just 5 watts. So, to avoid any power losses or minimum power losses, I had to learn how to properly tune the antenna. This was one of the greatest learnings I got from QRP operation. I would scan the 20 meter band and I would listen to various stations. I could hear some stations very loud and clear and some other stations not so much. I started responding to stations which I could hear clearly and those stations who were calling CQ. So, initially I was just answering to other stations that were calling CQ. Some of them would give me 57 to 59 signal report, some of them would give me less than 5 by 5. It was a mixed bag. However, unfortunately, I did not have much luck in calling CQ and getting a response. Most of the time I was never heard. So, I did not have much luck in calling CQ, but I made a lot of contacts by responding to someone else's call. I observed that in an operation of about 1 hour, I would make 3 to 4 contacts. It was not much, but I didn't expect any more from QRP as well. I was putting out 5 watts, but I was very happy. Whenever I made contact, I was very happy and I felt a sense of satisfaction. The reason being that I was using a very simple setup, a 5 watts output, a simple radio, a simple SWR meter, a small battery pack and a simple antenna. I was very happy, very satisfied when I made any contacts. One fine day when I was scanning through the frequencies on the 20 meter band, I heard a DX station and that station was from Muscat, Oman, and he was calling CQ. Now usually when I made contacts, I observed that my skip was about 950 to 1000 kilometers. So, I would hear and I would make contacts with stations, for example from Kerala and other areas in that range of distance. This was the first time I was hearing a DX station. I was very excited about it. I listened to that station for quite some time. He was calling CQ, no one was answering him. I said to myself, no way my 5-watt signal is going to reach him. He was more than 2500 kilometers away from my QTH. No way my signals are going to reach him, not at these levels, 5-watt. Since no one was responding to him, I said, just for fun of it, let's just give a reply to his call. So I said my call sign loud and clear as much as I can, and to my shock, or to my surprise, he came back and he gave me a report of 5859. I was so surprised. I never expected my 5 watts to reach these distances. That was my first DX contact. I was very happy. I didn't do anything after that. I was very pleased. I was very satisfied. I was very happy that my 5 watts were reaching places. I was happy with when I used to make domestic contacts, but with DX contacts I was blown away. But I realized that 5 watts is good enough. If you have a good setup, if you have a good antenna, nicely tuned antenna, if the propagation was good, it was supporting you, the environment was supporting you, you could reach places with 5 watts. From that day onwards, I started responding to other DX stations from, for example, Southeast Asia, countries like Indonesia. And to my surprise, I even reached Indonesia, that was 5,500 kilometers from my QTH, with just 5 watts. I was very happy, very happy. With a simple setup, I was reaching to DX stations and making successful contacts. I also tried the digital modes, and with 5 watts, I was able to reach DX stations as well. It was great. It was very satisfying and fun to do. But soon I realized that since my skip was about 950 to 1000 kilometers, I was getting the same stations over and over again, the same call signs, the same stations. So I wanted to try a little bit different. I decided, let's try the 40 meter band, and then I built an inverted V dipole, a fan dipole for 20 and 40 meter, which you see right behind me, and I started operating on 40 meter bands. Now there the skip was less, 250 kilometers, and with QRP levels I was able to reach more of domestic stations. The hams all around the world, most of them are very nice, very polite. I used to declare myself as a QRP station. During my conversation, I used to say that I am a newcomer and I am operating a very simple radio with 5 watts of output. Most of them were very nice to me. They encouraged me, they motivated me. They made sure that the contact took place. Even if my signals were weak at their end, they would do anything and everything that was in their control to hear me, to respond to me, and to make sure that the contact took place. It was their way of encouraging a QRP station, I guess. But that's when I realized something, that most of them said that the noise level at their end was S7 or S8, and so they could barely hear me. If they have a noise level of S7 at their end, and if my signals are reaching them at S7, I will never be heard. That was the point that I realized that probably QRP levels are not enough under such circumstances. Soon enough, I came to know about a certain theory, a certain concept. I learned that if I was putting out 5 watts, and if a station at a particular location was receiving me S7, if I quadrupled my power, that is from 5 watts to 20 watts, the same station at the same location would receive me S8. So, in order for me to be heard higher by 1 S unit, I have to quadruple my power output. So, if I quadrupled my power further, so from 20 watts to 80 watts, the same station at the same location would hear me S9. So, now we have gone into QRO operation. So, the difference between the QRP level, which was 5 watts, heard S7, to 80 watts and above, heard S9, is of 2 S units. The difference between the QRP and QRO level of 5 watts and let us say 100 watts respectively is 2 S units. But soon enough, I realized that if I am putting out 5 watts and the station at the receiving end is receiving me S7, if the conditions of the band were not so good, if the noise level at the receiving station is S7, the signal which I am putting out at 5 watts will never be heard there, because my signal is also S7 and the noise level is also S7. My signal is going to get drowned in that noise. That is when I realize the significance of those 2 S units which QRO operation is going to give me. So, instead of 5 watts, let us say I am putting out 100 watts, that station is going to hear me at S9. The noise at that station is S7. Since my signal is over and above the noise floor, I will be heard. So, under these conditions, when the band conditions are not good or there is a lot of noise at the receiving station's end, these 2 S units make a significant difference. These 2 S units make a difference in being heard or not heard at all. That is where QRO comes into picture. Now, for a newcomer, buying a QRO rig, that is a standard 100 watt rig, might be very expensive, but there are other ways to achieve the same also. Like for example, I bought a small linear amplifier kit which got connected to my QRP rig, and I could increase my power output. Now, with QRO, it was a very different experience altogether. When I was operating QRP, maybe for an hour or so, I would make 3 to 4 contacts. When I went QRO, in an hour I could make about 14 to 15 contacts because I was heard by a lot of stations. So, it was a completely different experience going QRO, and it was a very pleasant one. Although I had a very good experience and a lot of fun doing QRP, QRO was also very comfortable because I was heard by a lot of stations. My probability of making QSO increased, and I would on an average made 4 times more contacts. But like I said before, the QRP system was simpler, portable, lightweight, easy to use. There were few challenges when I went QRO. I had to learn about the the linear amplifier. I had to choose the correct power supply, a higher rating power supply, a higher rating of battery pack, related wiring. I learned how to build a common mode current choke, which was relevant when I went QRO. So, I learned all these things when I went QRO. So, what is the conclusion of all this? What can one get from these experiences, especially newcomers? Instead of believing in the philosophy of QRP or a philosophy of QRO and sticking to it, an amateur radio operator should just use minimum power that is required to make a successful contact. If 5 watts is sufficient enough to make a contact, by all means go QRP. But if 100 watts is required at that time to make that contact, by all means switch to 100 watts, switch to QRO. So, I think instead of believing in QRP or QRO as a philosophy, these are just means of operating and making contacts, and that is how operator should look into that. Use the minimum power output that is required to make a successful contact. These are just my opinions, just my thoughts, just a little bit of my experience which I wanted to share. There is nothing right or wrong about anything. These are just the views. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you have not subscribed to my channel, I request you to please do so. If you have liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. It gives me great motivation to create such content and put in front of you. Thank you very much for watching this video. Have a great day. Thank you.